Yeah, my
gosh.
daughter has plantar fasciitis and she's on marble for like 10
Oh,
hours a day. It's
oh
awful.
gosh.
Yeah, because
Mm-mm.
it's.
No. So anyway.
Okay, so I'm just going to start this. Hello, I'm Sue. Welcome to Fireside Chat. I'm really glad to be with you here with you this afternoon. I'm so pleased to have my honored guest, Anita Blackmon, and so excited. This is actually the first time we're meeting in person. We did a really fun kind of a Macomb County uplift kind of class together,
Mm-hmm.
and really glad to help people that are in the community. So I'd like to shine a spotlight on what she does, and so happy to have you here. Welcome, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
So glad. Anita Blackmon is a seasoned human resources management professional with over 2 decades of experience working with national nonprofits and corporations. She is known for her passion for leading teams to achieve positive outcomes. A specialist with talent and performance management, Anita excels in helping individuals discover and maximize their potential. Her commitment to fostering personal and professional growth with individuals has led her to expand her expertise as a credentialed personal and executive coach with a foundation in positive psychology and launched her coaching and consulting company, Purpose to Purpose LLC. Anita's skills are further enriched by her certification as a DISC facilitator, so cool, allowing her to adeptly guide individuals and teams in understanding behavioral styles for improved communication and collaboration. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration, providing a solid foundation for her strategic insight with a deep commitment to personal growth and development. Whether she's guiding individuals in personal development or facilitating team building initiatives, Anita's impact is transformative, helping others achieve their greatest potential. I'm so glad that you've come to this journey. It's
Oh,
amazing.
thank you. Thank you for
So,
having
what
me.
led you on this journey as a certified personal and executive coach?
Well, as you stated, my career basically was in human resources, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, most of it was in human resources,
Yes.
in human resources management. And I did specialize in talent management. I did like the recruiting side and onboarding,
That's
new
awesome.
individuals, and also finding the right match with teams, and organizations.
Right.
So people centered, I should say.
Very much. Yeah.
Um, and so with that, and then with performance management, really trying to help the staff
Mm-hmm.
identify, especially when they were struggling in a particular skill or,
Mm-hmm.
outcome. But just tapping in, like, let's do some assessments. Let's see if you're really in the right position.
Amazing.
What areas do you really want to grow in?
Right.
Because that happens a lot of times. People get into positions and companies, and it's not that they're bad employees, not all
No.
the time,
No. Yeah. Not all the time.
but sometimes they're not in the right role, or they need additional support or additional training. And that was where, I would hone in and really connect with them as well as
Wow.
their supervisor, management, leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted a positive outcome for everybody. So we would do the best that we could
Wow.
to help them grow and evolve because it's a win-win for everybody.
It
But
really is.
with that, that's where in my career got introduced to DISC. And I want to give a backstory with that.
I'd love that. Please.
So, everything that you mentioned in my intro, which is true,
Yeah.
I myself had to go through a journey of self discovery, right? So, I know what I
Yes.
like, I knew what my talents and gifts were,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes we kind of bump heads, you're at odds, you just don't mix with everybody on the team.
True.
And I had that happen like 2010 or 11.
Very upsetting.
Yeah, one of my colleagues, and we just didn't, not that we didn't get along, it was just like awkward for us. and we didn't know what was
You don't
going
want to
on.
work there the rest of your life and have this situation going on. Like, you don't
Exactly.
want to, you don't
Exactly.
always have to put up with that. Like, that's not your life, right?
So until we had a disc trainer come into the organization at that time, that was like the aha moment.
Wow.
And so as we did our individual assessments, and then there was a team assessment with everyone to see where we were on the quadrant.
Wow.
So we were complete opposites.
Oh my goodness.
That was what the problem was. And we're like, oh, really?
That's
So
amazing.
we were complete opposites. And with that, and I said, okay, so we need to talk.
It's
But
amazing,
with
though, to
that,
have that insight.
it is.
Because you could have worked together another 10 years and not gotten
And
that
not
insight.
long. And so sometimes
So
people
valuable.
just think, whether it's in your professional life or personal life, you'll say, oh, either you don't like a person or they don't like you.
Right.
And that could be true, but when you have to work together and you have projects and initiatives and deadlines, you got to get the job done, right?
Yeah.
And so you want it to be as cordial as you can
Yes.
make it. Part of that is, again, self-awareness, which is where my coaching comes in, and incorporating the DISC
Right.
is to make you more self-aware, if you're not at all, of yourself
Not
and
everyone is.
then of others. And what's the best way to communicate? And what's the best way, or how do you prefer people
Right.
to communicate or get you? Now, some people say, oh, they don't get me. Well, why is that? And so we'll talk more about it, but this is what led me to where I am today, coaching and also incorporating DISC into the coaching practice. So just being aware, building healthy relationships.
So glad you found this path, truly.
Oh, my
because
gosh.
look at how much you can help people. Like in one session,
Oh,
they
yeah.
probably say to you, I wish I knew this 20 years ago, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
we just go through our lives and we're just trying the best we can.
Yeah.
And it just helps so much if you can understand this is how this person needs to be spoken to because they value these things. Like, say, an accountant or someone, if he thinks in terms of numbers and precision and detail and all that, then say I'm like a salesperson or something and I'm trying to tell him something and he's like, what are you emphasizing? All this flowery language and all of this, like, no, like, how much is it going to make a year? Like, you know what I mean? And you have to almost alter a little bit your way of connecting with that person so that they can hear you in a sense, in a way that they're comfortable hearing.
Absolutely. Communication. Effective communication.
Effective communication.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
and
the
I feel
key.
like a lot of our young ones, they really would benefit so much by taking a little bit of the DISC training because they would be able to say, "Oh, is that why?" You know, like it's because it's
That's all
you
a
think
part
it's
of it.
you, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. It doesn't.
Or you
have-
think it's them, right?
yeah, they think it's them for sure. I just want to show this. This is certified personal executive coach, CPEC.
CPAC.
CPAC. So
That's,
this is your that's your
Those are my credentials.
credentials. Yes,
From the CAP Institute under Valerie Burton. So yes.
that's amazing. It changes you, doesn't it, to take a journey like this? Because as you said, you have to go through everything for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a journey. It's been a wonderful journey, though. It has.
So glad. So I know we met during Uplift. Do you think that was worthwhile to kind of try work on something every week and kind of report back? Like, okay, we're going to talk about a business plan, and we're going to, it's kind of nice if you've never thought about it before, right?
I think it was worthwhile.
I think so, too.
any I want to say entity that really helps you grow or
Yes.
just sharpen your skill set.
Definitely.
It's always a win-win when you connect with new people,
Yes,
new like-minded people, right?
very much so. I know.
So it's beneficial, and although I knew most of the training that they provided, but I had an opportunity to tweak what I knew and also get a different perspective
Definitely.
on certain things. So I think that was always,
The
that's
cutest
always
thing
good.
is that you and I have both gone networking with Deborah Williams. We've both gone networking.
Deb.
Like, it's so much fun, right? It's just hilarious. Like
Yes.
it's so much fun. Like to think, oh, you know what? You're just starting this out too, and so then you can say, hey, like there's this AI tool that maybe you could use and you're developing your course or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and we're helping each other out,
Yeah,
right?
that's what it's
And
about. Yeah.
yeah, it really is.
Mm-hmm.
So DISC, it stands for, I guess, is it four kind of quadrants or four kinds of,
Yes, there are four quadrants to the DISC style. And so, for those who don't know, DISC
mm-hmm,
is a behavioral assessment.
mm-hmm,
Some people prefer to call it a personality assessment. I don't think it's like the personality assessment. And there are a lot of similar assessments out there, but DISC is my uh, assessment of choice.
right.
One, because it's fun to use, it's easy to understand, and it gives
See if we
just
can
really
try
good
to
some.
cut. Oh, it's shooting up, isn't it? It's
What's
going up.
happening?
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's moved to that way. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
gonna go back to. I was thinking I was gonna put the sheets underneath,
oh,
but what we'll do is that's okay.
okay.
That's
All
okay.
right. So yes, so I will I can go over the four
That would be great.
styles to the disc, and it's DISC,
Perfect.
all capital letters.
Mm-hmm.
This is extended disc that I'm referencing. So D stands for dominance, and with the dominance, the characteristics typically are someone who's focused, results driven, and they're all about the outcome.
Okay.
A lot of times
Okay.
they're very direct in communication
Mm-hmm.
that can be misinterpreted as rude,
Controlling.
controlling, manipulative, but they're very
I'm with
direct
you.
and concise. And so normally the D characteristics, the D people, don't have a lot of patience for the chatty people.
Right.
They just want to get down to business. What's the bottom line here? So that's the D. The I characteristics are influence. That's what the I stands for. And so the I people, talkative, optimistic, really encourage others. They're fun to be around, very outgoing, very social. So those are their characteristics.
Awesome.
Yes. And then the S, loyal, steadiness. They like a lot of steadiness. They want to be more grounded,
Yep.
really prefer harmony in situations. They are somewhat social, but not as much as the I's.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, we'll talk about how to interact with each of these.
Okay.
And then the C's are more analytical. They're like data driven,
Mm-hmm.
organized, very structured, prefers to work alone. Most of the time, they're quiet, somewhat reserved. So those are the C's. And so when you, and this is just a high level overview
Yes.
because there are, you have to take the actual assessment. And then if there's a team, if you're doing team building, you do a team assessment and you can see where all the team members land
Like
on the
on the
quadrant.
quadrant.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And so if you have a team that's primarily S and I's and then you've got two D's, we've got to work out some communication training.
That's so interesting. I
building.
love that. Yeah.
Right? So with D's, when you approach a D, D style, one of the things you want to make sure is that you're direct with them. They don't like a lot of fluff.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like the long story to get to the end result. They just want the facts. We want to, what are you here for?
How can I
help?
you? Totally.
Right?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah, and they don't want all the necessary details to get to the end result. So when you approach a D, of course you could be cordial. They appreciate that. I think everyone appreciates that.
Absolutely.
But just state why you're there, if you have a moment, and when you go, make sure you have all the information to give them in that moment,
Very
and
much so.
particularly in the workplace. Now, when your personal life, there might be some room for adjustment, and then we also need to know with ourselves as
Mm-hmm.
well as others, when do you need to switch? because we all have
Interesting.
all of these styles within us.
Okay.
So, for instance,
Interesting.
I'm an S. I'm a high S.
I was
I'm an
wondering.
SI.
Okay.
But if I have to get in that, I'm a leader by choice.
You
But
are.
I'm
Yeah,
a
you're a
I'm a
natural
supportive
leader.
leader.
Yeah, you're like
you
a
know,
sweet leader. Like, like
and
you're not like a D
right. But
leader.
when
You're
you
like
need
sweet.
to really just hone in and hey, let's kick it in gear.
Yeah.
My D can kick in very easily
Okay.
if you need to, depending on circumstances, but that's not my primary. My primary is S. My secondary is I. So it's people focused, people centered,
Right. We don't like confrontation. We don't like people to be upset or left out.
I
Or,
would prefer not to,
yeah. Yeah.
So with the I's,
That's
I
so
think
funny.
when people someone approaches an I characteristic, one of the things is you have to allow the eyes to share what they need to share.
Mm.
So if you only have 5 minutes, hey, Sue, I only got 5 minutes. What's up?
I am such an eye. Honestly, I'm with you completely.
That's okay. But
Oh
that's
my
that's
goodness.
cool. And you keep the conversation kind of light if you can. And we know that, as life is life, sometimes that's not the case. But you don't like to be weighted down with the heavy stuff.
Right.
Keep it light and going, keep it going. And you follow up with people quite easily as well, too, I believe. And so with the S styles,
Really, I like S. S is really nice qualities.
yeah, they
Loyal,
want to keep the
reliable, good
conversational
listener.
tone pleasant
Mm-hmm.
and friendly. Again, these styles are not confrontational by nature,
No,
but I
exactly.
think when everyone, maybe if you're pushed in a corner,
Yes.
then you kind of do what you need to do.
Right.
But they want to avoid, I'm going to say I'm an S, conflict when you can, and there are times conflict is
Yes.
good
Mm-hmm.
because it does happen, but it's good when you, again, are self-aware of yourself and the other parties involved and welcome a conversation,
Right.
invite a conversation because that's the only way you're going to minimize conflict. We have to put it on the table,
Communicate. Mm-hmm.
communicate, and
Right.
talk about what it is, or something just misperceived. Did
Right.
someone get offended by something you said? Whatever it may be, but you don't know until you actually talk about it,
Yeah.
and see how you could
Yeah,
possibly
and
move
what
around
they
that.
say about a situation can be completely different to what you thought they took from it or whatever. And you're like, oh,
Exactly.
I'm so glad to know this because now we can do this.
Exactly.
Right? So
Mhm.
it actually brings about the correct result, the correct kind of way of doing things rather than something that they're like, oh, no, this isn't any good either. Like
Yes.
they
Yes.
just don't want to say anything, right? So,
Right. And so when you approach a C style, the accountants, the tech people, typically, I'm not saying they're all that, but those are careers that most of the C styles fall into, they work in. But you want to keep
analytical.
focused on the facts, keep your tone professional, and give them like all the details. They want all the details, not just the bottom line. But and they're analysts.
That's
They want to
interesting.
analyze it. Yeah. So they don't like a lot of chatty conversation either. I shouldn't say they don't like it, but they don't do well with it, especially with long and drawn out. So
And they probably want to be alone
they like to work
so
independently most of the time.
That's
Mhm.
so funny.
It
So
is.
it's
It
funny
just
in school when we're assigned a group project. So many of us are like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that person's in our group.
in
What
our
are we
group,
going
right?
to do?" Like it's just, oh my God.
Mhm.
So then you immediately go, "Okay, this is what structure we have to do. We're going to check in with each other at these points, and let's get together this weekend, and we'll put together a slide deck or whatever." And so you kind of, try to attack it from, like a kind of an inclusive,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I really like that you say that you approach things holistically. I really like that.
Yes, because you're coaching the whole person.
Absolutely.
It's not just an issue, and it's not counseling and not consulting.
That's
That's something
true.
different. So if I have a client per se contacts me and says, "Hey, um, I'm at a crossroad, or I need some help
Right.
gaining clarity
Right.
on whatever the case may be, or I'm not feeling really motivated, or everything that I've tried
Mm.
is just not working. Can you help?" Then
Yes.
sure, we take assessments. There are a couple assessments depending on, what the request is,
Okay.
um,
You'll
to figure
know
out what's
how to work with that person to
absolutely,
get
because
at.
each session, each client, I create like a unique
Right.
coaching, style for them.
It
So,
saves them so much time, doesn't it? Like
yeah,
the struggle and the I
and
don't
with
know what to do and I'm stuck and all of that can
exactly,
be undone.
and when in those sessions, the reason I say I like to look at it from a holistic perspective is
Hmm.
other things about their life comes up. It's not the issue that they called for, you know.
Interesting. Yeah. It's not
So
the presenting symptom or whatever. It's
no,
like the whole
it's
self
the
that's
whole
coming to
self.
you.
Yes,
And you could
exactly.
be like, oh, well, actually, this situation in your life is really putting pressure on this. And
Mhm.
then they're like, oh, I never realized it did. That makes me feel relief.
Well, yeah, and it's other questions I may ask for them to take a moment just
Hmm.
to look a little deeper,
Yeah.
in their souls, in their hearts. Like, what are your desires? What are your fears?
Hmm.
What are the limiting beliefs you're sabotaging yourself with?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And what do you think is like unattainable? There are a series of questions and
Those are great questions.
exercises that we go through just
Hmm.
to tap inside, because my belief is deep down we know the answer. You just
That's what
have to
Oprah
help them
says.
open up. Oh, does Oprah say that?
Yeah. She's
Oh, I
like,
didn't know
you
that.
already know. You just have to connect with that soul who knows and
Yeah,
then
help bring it
seek
forth.
from that perspective. Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think also there's another author, Ian Van Zandt. She's
Mhm.
also like such an
Oh,
amazing
yes.
coach and author. She has a show and
Mhm.
she's like, if she's on Oprah, I remember this many years ago, she goes into the audience and she says, do you have a question? This person stands up and she says, close your eyes. And then she says, you are the beloved,
Mhm.
okay, tell me what you, and it's so funny because when you close your eyes, you forget that there's 300 people in the studio. You forget that
Mm.
there's anyone else. It's just you and Ayanla. And it's such an interesting, such a quick way to go deeper
Deeper.
into that
Mhm.
internal.
Mhm.
I just, I'm like, my God, that's amazing. But then they say the most like um, insightful things.
Yeah.
And so it actually works. It's almost like you're just not focusing on anything else except so that the answers that come, they come from inside you and you're not worried about, is this going to sound good on television? Or, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Right, because you have to shut out the chatter,
yeah, very
the mental
much.
chatter, and yeah,
Because
just
that
be
can
quiet and go through
interfere.
your
You
day.
could be like, oh, I should do this, or this person expects me to do this. And it's like,
Mhm.
what do you want? Right.
Exactly, it's your desires. Mhm.
So, in your
Absolutely.
coaching, I can imagine that DISC really gives you a snapshot of kind of how to speak with them, and then yeah, like how I guess because they bring that same kind of I guess what is it called? It's like a tendency. So if I'm an I would bring that I sort of tendency into
Mhm.
different
It's who you are.
situations, right?
It's who you are. And I don't think that there's not a right or wrong way to be.
Right.
We
Yeah.
just have to know how to communicate better,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you can't communicate better if you're not aware on how to communicate better.
Definitely. Yeah. And the way that
Right?
you could be communicating might not be the way that this person needs to hear it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons I
It's
really
incredible.
like DISC.
I'm
And
really
so I
glad.
do recall in one of my former um, workplaces.
Hmm.
So after we would do the DISC assessment, everyone would put what their profile was on their desk or outside the office.
Oh my goodness. So that you can
Know
take
how
that
to
into
approach it before
account.
you approach them.
That's hilarious. I love it. That's so smart.
So
So
someone would say,
smart.
"Yep, I'm a C right now. I'm busy."
And then you and I were like, okay, well, we'll catch you after lunch. We'll see you
Yeah.
later. Then we
Yeah.
have our lunch and we're all happy. We're filled,
Yes.
up to the brim. And then we're
Mhm.
like, okay, we can deal with the C now.
There you go.
Okay, let's go. So, yeah, I think that's amazing. And as
Yeah.
I said to you earlier, yeah, like Chanel actually did the DISC system so that their employees can understand each other's traits and they can have a customer come in with a certain kind of energy and then have an idea of how to approach that person.
Absolutely.
So it's really,
Absolutely.
it's amazing how well known.
And so the DISC has a training for sales teams.
Wow.
They have a few different ones, but again, I think the root of it is amazing because it's about self-awareness. It's about awareness, effective communication, and great
Teamwork.
interaction.
Right.
So in your professional life and with your loved ones. So again, I have some siblings. I come from a background of strong personalities.
Right.
And so I believe and have learned, I do know, that we can communicate pretty good, have good relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you're very clear.
Yeah, and I know when to just turn left and go go
Yeah,
the other way.
right. Because you could read the room, right?
Yes,
You're
of
like,
course.
okay.
Mhm.
So I guess there's more than one benefit using the tool in the workplace, more than one, because it just clarifies things for people.
Oh yeah. So again, I can't say enough. It's self-awareness, how you're showing up, and two, for groups, teams. So if you want to do one for the leadership team, where the leadership is working with all their direct reports,
Wow.
and you can do just for the entire organization, which would be monumental depending on the size.
Yeah.
But I think it would be good, like if you had teams, maybe a couple at a time, come together, and give feedback and give their insight, especially when you're working on cross teams, projects that involve other
Different
multiple
departments.
departments and so forth.
Definitely.
It's helpful.
So how long would it take to become, say, certified with DISC? What's the process like for certification?
So there are many
in case people wanna do
companies.
that?
Yeah, there are many companies. It didn't take me long anyway. It was like a few days to go through
Awesome.
the training, make sure I understood my own profile,
Right.
understanding again how to facilitate. It was a lot of role playing, a lot of interaction with all of the styles, what was most effective, other ways, we got feedback from everyone and what would probably be the most effective way to interact with them.
So if we were to say dominant influence, social, steady. I like the word steady. What word would you use for C?
Oh, concise.
Concise. That's a great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Analytical.
You get this complete.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And it's not the same as D. I guess D is like a born leader, right? D is like they're, okay, what are we going to do? Okay, like.
Just very results driven.
Results
so if you
driven,
think
definitely.
of someone who's very focused and just results driven, like they don't deal with a
Definitely.
lot of distractions. They need all the facts they need to get the job done. Just bottom line, let's give it to me.
It's kind of interesting too. Like if you think about, do you have children?
Yes.
Have you done the disc on them? Like, can you tell me a little bit about like?
So I don't know if I've done the disc. So my husband and I have 3 children collectively, 3 adult children. But my biological son, I would say he's a DI.
Oh wow, DI.
When he's at work, personally, he's an ID.
Okay, wow.
Yep, extreme. He's very personable, very social, but when he needs to get the job done,
he cuts to the chase. Okay,
to the chase. He doesn't want to hear the fluff. It's about the facts. And I would say that our daughter, I would say she's definitely an I. I would say, you know what, now that I think about it, both sons might be DI.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
to think about their different kinds of personalities and
Yes.
things like that. I wonder how they came up with discs. So Maxwell, it's a Maxwell method.
John
So
Maxwell has his disc assessments,
mhm.
and then there's extended disc. This is about 80 years old.
Wow.
It's a long term.
Really,
Yeah,
that's
it's been around
so
that long,
interesting. Oh my
but
goodness.
like I said, it just came into my life like
At just
20
the right
years
time,
ago.
really,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah, they didn't talk about it too much unless you studied, like, I guess, human behavior and all
Yeah.
the personality profiles and so forth.
So
hmm
John Maxwell, like the famous coach, the same
Leadership.
person.
hmm
So do you think he came up with this? Because this is really
No,
amazing.
he didn't come up with this. This is just his method, which is similar to the other methods. And there are a few variations
Yeah.
of it. And then there's another assessment called Everything Disc.
Okay.
So, in my professional opinion, I think extended disc tends to be a little more exact to
Okay.
me than the Everything Disc.
Okay.
So that's just my opinion from what I've observed in my training.
Your parents?
Mm.
What do you think they maybe if they're still around, what they
They're not
are or
here.
what they
I would
were?
say
What do
that
you think?
I would say my dad was probably a C.
Okay.
My mom was probably an ID.
So it's interesting because even if you think about kind of dating too, it's kind of nice to have this. It's like a tool in your backpack,
It
right?
is. It's very helpful. And um, for me, and I really enjoy meeting people. I
You're very
believe I
social.
have
Yeah, you're very comfortable.
some pretty healthy and fun, loving relationships. But then I can sense in the other part too, because I'm an empath. So I pick up on
That's so
things a little
useful.
more
That's great in
tight.
coaching, isn't
Oh
it?
gosh, yes. And so I'm like, okay, let me just sit back here and see if I'm
Yes.
right.
Because you know what, though? You're a very good observer, right? Like
hmm
you can be, kind of quiet and just listen and watch and just see what this person is bringing to the surface, what they're sharing, as
hmm
we said, what they're presenting with, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but empathy and like like to be an empath, you have to remind yourself sometimes to actually let other people do things for you because it's really easy for empaths to just
To
give and
yep.
give and give, right?
hmm
And it's you forget. It's like, oh, did I eat today? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's such a useful gift, I think, to be empathic as a coach. So, did you like find personal coaching first, or did you find like business coaching first, or did you kind of find both at the same time? Like,
Well, it was at the same time. So the program that I went through,
yes,
and I had researched for actually a couple of years
wow,
because there's and today, like coaching is such a buzzword, right? Like there are all kinds of coaches for
yes,
all kinds of things, and
right,
people are like, oh, you don't need to get a certification. And maybe you don't to be great. I don't know. But for me, it was important to understand,
mm-hmm.
um, and I want to say the science behind
I'm
it.
like that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wanted to have some valid credentials
very much so.
through a very recognized and great program. So it
Right.
took me a couple of years to decide which program I was gonna partake in.
Mm-hmm.
And that one offered the personal and the executive. I refer to myself as a leadership coach,
Leadership coach.
personally, but it's an executive program, and it's very intense.
Is it really?
It's
Yeah.
very intense. And I know that there are some other great programs out there, but that was the one for me. And I have followed Valerie Burton for years and years. And
I just want to
um,
show your logo because
mhm,
purpose to purpose coaching and consulting
mhm,
services. So I love the whole look of it too. It's
mhm,
really beautiful. So
mhm,
you have a website that you're launching and
mhm,
people can come to you and they could be, oh, I'm really stuck. I don't know what to do, or I'm not sure where to go, or I've never done a personality test. So they can go to purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's things for them to read, or do you have any
There'll be
resources?
things to read.
Very good.
We
Very
can
good.
schedule a discovery call
Okay.
just to see
Yeah.
one where they are and what they're seeking,
Mm-hmm.
if we will be a good fit to work together, and how I may be able to serve.
So yeah, it's really amazing because it's such an amazing time right now. Like with people, a lot of people want to start a side hustle, or they want to do like an AI agency or things like that. There's so much of like I think especially since the pandemic, so many people are like, maybe I should do something on
Mm-hmm.
my own as a side hustle or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or people changing their jobs altogether. So I think your timing is perfect because people first want to know like what would suit me, what would I want to spend the rest of my life doing, because I think a lot of people realize I don't want to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it was great like to kind of have that reset period and a time that you can think and talk and read and watch YouTube videos and begin to say what would I like next.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that person is actually, if they find you, you're saving them so much of struggle and indecision, and they may not know how to go about doing things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can really shorten that kind of the path to being ready to launch, to
Mm-hmm.
reach out, and start something. And so I think that's amazing because at the very beginning, you can start them off on the right foot, right? And have them not have to spend money on all things that they don't need.
All things they don't need. And the key thing,
Mm-hmm.
Sue, is while you may be seeking something, trying to gain clarity on
Yes.
what the next steps would be,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, once you make the decision, we work together
Mm-hmm.
to find
You're not
where
alone.
you're at. That's right. But people have to do the work.
Yes.
So there's no easy pie in the sky. So you have to do the work once you decide. And you may decide a few different things. And I
Right.
think that's okay. I think that's okay. I think, and I believe that for a lot of us, we go through seasons.
Yes. That's awesome.
So, what you
Yes.
did during the time, maybe you were raising your family,
Yes.
or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Like,
And then you go into different seasons. So you become an empty nester, or, you may be into a second marriage,
yes.
whatever the case may be.
Right.
Taking care of loved ones, wanting to travel the world. We go through seasons in life.
Very much.
Most of the time, I mean, some people are just natural born actors or, chefs, and that is their life purpose, and that's what they do all their lives. But there are so many purpose individuals out here, many
Right.
talents and gifts, and you want to explore them.
If you were to talk to somebody who was maybe just graduating from high school or college, would you say, it might be an interesting thing for them to do a kind of a personality quiz or to do some kind of, I guess, searching, just reading and, right, just look at different things?
I think all of that is relevant. I think it's important,
Okay.
and I would highly recommend maybe high school,
Mm-hmm. I
then
agree.
at the end of college, because they're
agree.
not the same people. You're young adults. You've gone through some
Yes.
things in college. You're
Mhm.
establishing hopefully lifetime friendships and so forth.
Right.
And then again, as say if you're starting a family,
Right. It changes
thing
again.
changes again.
Yeah.
It changes. So maybe every 10 years or so, every
Yeah, right.
decade.
You kind of have
Do an
to check
assessment,
in
see where
and
you're at.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
So, have you studied Myers-Briggs a little bit?
a little bit.
So, how do you feel? Like, is this seems simpler to me? How would you sort of compare the two, like at a high, like it just sort of like at a glance, not getting into it, but like
Between disc, I don't even remember my
Myers-Briggs
numbers
is
and
like
breaks.
INFJ, that
Right.
kind of thing. So it's
Exactly.
like,
So I've taken Myers-Briggs. I don't remember my numbers. I've taken predictive index. I've taken a lot of
probably quite a few because it took
assessments.
you a couple of years to really research and see
Yes,
what feels right to you.
exactly. And I love disc. It's easy. Like I
So
said, it's
simple.
easy. It's easy to take. It's easy to understand. It's easy to use.
Hmm.
And you'll always like be able to reference. So I don't have to
Definitely.
think so much about,
Right. Yeah, this
okay, what's
seems,
your letters?
it's so clear. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, because introvert, extrovert,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. I think, are you someone who's a persuading kind of person, or are you someone who's more, I don't know, I forget how they put it. Like, it's been years since I even thought about Myers-Briggs,
Mm-hmm.
but my kids and I, we like to do little quizzes on each other,
Yeah. Yeah.
like what Harry Potter character are you, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we just do these little quizzes for fun. But I think it's so great to have an idea of what your strengths are,
Mm-hmm.
because some of us, we may not have happened upon our strengths yet.
Well, so the difference, these are characteristics
Mm.
and communication styles, right?
Yes,
So there is an
communication styles.
assessment called Strength Finders
Oh,
that really kind of taps into your top 5 to
ah,
10 strengths.
that's interesting.
Yes. And then again, you can compare your strengths with your skill sets. It's so many assessments out here.
They really are.
Yeah,
Have
but
you have you looked at the love languages?
yeah, recently.
A little. Oh, good,
And
good,
guess what mine is?
good. That's amazing. What is
Communication.
your? That's so funny.
Communications, yes.
That's so funny. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I look at those things and I go, okay, yeah, I'd like that, and then yeah, I'd also like that.
I thought I thought mine was something else, but it's communication.
That's
So,
so sweet. It's
yeah.
just nice to know, because then if you have the person's having a special birthday or something, you know that it's going to mean something to them,
Mm-hmm.
to give them, maybe some lovely parchment, something that you have this lovely something you're writing to them or whatever, because
Mm-hmm.
they really love words, or they love, gifts, or they love your quality time and all
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's so nice to be able to in a sense, feed your children,
Mm-hmm.
like nourish them in
Mm-hmm.
that sense.
Yeah.
And because, yeah, we're taking care of them, but, we really want them to be like, fulfilled, and we want them to know what brings them joy, because then we can maybe help them find that, or especially you, like you do this for a living. And it's just such a need. Like, we really want to help people, like,
I do. And I
very
think
much.
that to
So
your
it's so
point,
nice.
and particularly with our young people, I'm going to say everybody, but
Yeah.
young people, you have
Mm-hmm.
to instill and share that with them. And I think everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to be, feel valued,
Very much.
feel
Absolutely.
heard,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Understood.
understood,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody should want to feel and be loved,
Absolutely.
or at least respected,
Yeah, right. Not just
Some level of
tolerated.
right?
It's
We're
so,
humans, and I think that's what helps, shape us. I think it helps the respect part for sure with building relationships
mm-hmm.
and understanding the other people. And it's nice to get acknowledgement on your special days and
Yes, it is.
celebrate you
We
and
have to
things like that.
celebrate, because,
Yeah,
like, those little wins, like when they come about, we do have to celebrate them, right?
absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
then your mind knows I've done this goal, and I can't say that I can't anymore because I just did.
And see, even
Right.
on your teams,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really big on that. Don't take all the
Absolutely.
credit because you
Right.
need the
It's
team
a
to help you
team.
get it going.
It's a team.
Yeah, so celebrate those moments for sure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
acknowledge the work of the people who helped you
Of
get to where you
everyone.
are. Yeah.
Right. So have you ever thought about where does your husband fall in the disc arena? Have you ever?
Yeah, he's I would say he's an ID too. I tend to have the
ID. Oh
characteristics
my
around me.
goodness. So you have a couple of, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's so funny. It's
Yeah.
because he is he talkative?
Yes.
Huh.
Oh gosh, yes.
Is he
Yes.
It's lovely though, because
Yes.
at least you don't have somebody who's just silent all the time, right?
no,
Like, I
no.
think it's great with your personality that you get to actually
We
like
both
interact
talk.
with this
Yeah, but
sweet.
he's a talker for sure.
It's so funny.
But then he'll go silent, and
Wow.
Yeah, when he needs to get things done too, it's like move out the way.
Yeah, that's right. This is what we're doing this weekend.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just feel like I wish that they would introduce like disc in high school. I think in high school they're totally able to understand this, and they probably are even able to intuitively
Oh, I'm
understand it
sure. I'm absolutely
because
sure.
right, you're
Yeah. So, you think about young people. Well, it's been a while because our kids are young adults.
hmm hmm
We said. But if you remember, I don't know with my son for sure,
hmm
and he was really outgoing,
hmm
very popular, and he would immediately identify, Mom, they're mean to me, or Mom, so and so. He would call them out on their stuff.
like
And I'd say, well, did you do anything to them? Or did you tease them? Or what? But you start having that conversation. So I think young people would definitely be able
very much
to process this.
understand.
And they're very
I think so.
smart and intuitive um, children, teenagers,
hmm
for
Yeah,
sure.
and like a lot of them, I guess, like we grew up interacting, but children today might not necessarily have a kind of a life where they have others to talk to when they get home from school or
Hmm.
on the weekends, or like, if you have a big family, you've got cousins and you've got brothers and sisters, and,
Hmm.
you can really learn how they reflect you because they're like reflecting us back, right?
Hmm.
So if you don't have a lot of friends or you don't have siblings, you aren't getting to know as much about yourself than if you have a big family and they're
Hmm.
really close.
Hmm.
So I think we're very lucky to have people that we can tell things to, like, okay, I'm really scared about this, or I'm, you know what I mean, like, how
Yeah.
should I approach this,
Yeah.
or and they can give you really good feedback, because not everyone has someone close to confide in.
That's true. That is true. And as you were talking, I was thinking with
Mm-hmm.
our young people when we put them in
Mm-hmm.
the youth sports. So
Oh,
back to team building
you're right.
again.
You're right.
But again, there are components of working in a team sport because what
Yeah.
the outcome is you want to win, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you might have a star player, and every parent thinks their kid is the
It's
star,
the star
right?
player. That's hilarious. Yeah, right.
So again, it's the conversations and how do you support maybe the teammate
Yeah.
who is really, really leading you to the win, while
Yeah.
you're doing the other parts. I'm not the big sports mom. I was a football mom, but
Yeah. Wow.
but I mean, it starts young if you think about
Yes.
it, but it's how you communicate and build relationships and
Yeah.
learn how to support and understand those you interact with.
When you grew up, did you kind of play outside and have friends and things like, did
Yeah.
you have neighbors, like
Yes.
kids? Yeah. So
Came from a big family. So we played among each other, with each other, but we did have our own individual friends.
very
So
nice.
yes.
It's nice to
Hmm.
have the best of both
It
because,
was great. Then,
there's certain things that you
yeah.
want to ask the friend. Like even me, I'm like, I was asked my best friend, I'm like, there's a couple of dresses that I'm trying to decide between, to wear to this
Mhm.
wedding. And
Mhm.
I'm like, can I just like take pictures and could I send them to you?
Mhm.
And she's like, of course, like it's so nice to, if you have one really good friend who listens, who
Yes.
doesn't judge you, like even if you think, oh gosh, I have this disappointing thing happen, they always see the good. They always say, no, but
Absolutely.
look how hard you tried or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
That's the blessing if you have
hmm
one of those friends.
So, yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's good because if you don't have that friend or you don't have that big family, then you can actually turn to a coach, right? And you can say, I have never talked about this to anyone before,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
I don't even know how to begin to start a business. And
Mhm.
so, like, if it was someone like that, then you could analyze their personality a little bit. And then I know you're really good at listening. So you would be listening to what they were telling you and saying, okay, I'm hearing that you like this kind of sector, this kind of industry, and then you can bring out, have you any experience in this? Or, so sometimes there's something that you don't know, right? And so you could say, this is how you get experience in that, right?
Possibly. So a couple things with
Mm-hmm.
that. Again, like we would do the discovery call first, where I would ask specific questions,
Very good.
and dig a little deeper to
Mm-hmm.
see, what is it that they're seeking.
Right.
And so if it's maybe business or a career change or
Oh, it could be a career change,
entrepreneurship.
yeah.
So I would do probably the Strength Finders or some other skills assessment
Mm-hmm.
to see where they are. And then we would dig a little deeper
Yes.
depending on what they,
What they're
express.
asking for,
Yeah,
yeah.
and at some point I would do a disc assessment on them. So it
Right.
just depends on where they are, what are they really seeking, and sometimes they don't know. They just know that something bigger is calling them, or
Right.
they're seeking for something more meaningful with more purpose at this phase in life.
Can you think of a certain like coaching client where you can kind of talk about how they presented themselves to you and then where it kind of led you to and perhaps how they sort of like evolved into? Can you think of anyone
Oh
you
gosh,
can talk
yes.
about? I would love to hear about it.
um, yes, for sure. So actually, I've had one client that comes to mind in particular.
Okay.
Super, super talented, just a brilliant, dynamic person, I feel,
Wow.
and was lacking confidence in her own skill set of
You're probably surprised.
designing
Designing.
like
Wow.
fabulous things, but
Wow.
didn't feel confident enough to put her things out into the world. And I couldn't believe, I was like, are you kidding me?
These are yours? Like, what? Yeah, that's amazing.
But
That's amazing.
back to, imposter syndrome, because we all suffer from it at some point in time.
We
I'll deal with
must.
it at some point in time. And that's where she was. And it was just pulling back the layers. Because, as you deal with things over time,
Mm-hmm.
with some people, I'm just going to say,
Mm-hmm.
some, um, you you lose your confidence,
Yeah.
depending on, as I say, who are the committee members in your head
So true.
telling you this?
So,
Whose voice are you listening to?
yes.
So she's definitely evolved. And, so just every day, one of the exercises I like to have clients practice
Mm-hmm.
when we're dealing with a confident
Yeah.
situation
Yeah.
is look in the mirror, excuse me, and just say, I am 5 times. I am great. I am beautiful. I am talented. I am loved. I am brilliant. I'm resilient.
Lovely.
Just say it to yourself so you feel it. If you don't believe it, now you will in like a week. And every day, if you want to say 5 more things, because there's so much to us,
Yeah,
right?
there is.
So
There
you have to
really is.
say it.
Why do
People
we
at
have
different phases.
imposter syndrome? So
'Cause
it's common then, yeah? Like,
it's very common.
okay.
It's very common.
Okay.
And then when you're faced with the unknowns before you,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's the first time you're first.
Definitely.
And I was like, well, why am I, who called me? Who wants me to do what?
What? Are you kidding?
Yeah, it shows up all the time. It shows up. And, we all at some point or time deal with fear.
Yeah. Fear is a big one, isn't it?
It's a huge one. It's huge because it's fear of the unknown. And you don't know what's on the other side of the unknown
No, we
till you
don't.
do it.
Yeah. And you can't
And it's
know.
usually great.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like fear is on the other side of everything that you want. Like you have to go through
You have to go through it. Mm-hmm.
to get out the other
That's
side.
right.
And oh gosh, like it's never really just given to you or easy. Usually, you can go through 40 years of being in the wrong job and then find something.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize I've always wanted to be a podcaster or something, right? You just
Exactly.
never, right? And
But
so,
you got to try.
yeah, you do.
And see what
You
goes
do.
on. But yeah, those are big ones for all of us. Yes.
Because I think that like CEOs even have imposter syndrome
Everybody
sometimes,
at some point.
right?
It's just how they deal with it. Yes.
it's like you get the job and then you're like, oh boy, like, what am I, you know what I mean? Richard Branson says, if someone gives you an opportunity, say yes and learn how to do it,
Yeah.
right? Because you may not be expected to know. You know, they could have very unique products or they could have very specific, you know, their sales training. Like you can't know before going in, right? Like you'd have to be there and train and learn and right. It takes a little while. You don't have to be like amazing on day one. Thank God.
Yes. And, you know, people have to remember, too, it's important to build like your own personal team. And there's a professional team. You
I like
always have
that.
support
I like that.
there to go with you on your journey.
I'm so glad. I'm
Yeah.
really, really happy that you had time to come and talk with me.
Oh, yes.
Such a pleasure. Oh my goodness. You're just lovely to talk to.
Thank you.
If I can
Thank
just
you.
say that. I think you'd be such a sweet, calming influence on people who just don't know if they're stuck or they aren't sure, you know, they want to do something, but they don't even know where to begin. Like you can give them insight. And and your information is the purpose2purpose.com is the website that's
Yes.
going to be going live.
Okay.
And so, and I think Anita at purpose2purpose.com if people want to send you an email or have
Sure.
a question.
Mhm.
But thank you so much for spending time with me.
Oh, thank
so,
you for having me.
So
This was
happy.
wonderful.
Thank you.
So wonderful.
So happy. So and if you'd like to come back and teach us, like if you'd like to do something with
Oh, maybe
disc
we'll do
or
the Strength
would you
Finders
like to
next
do
time.
that? Absolutely. It's good. And we
For
can bring
sure.
Deborah and
Okay.
it's so much fun.
That would be
yeah.
great. That would
But
be great.
you're just lovely.
Thank
you really are. You're
Thank
so
you, Sue.
welcome.
You as well.
I hope that you've enjoyed learning about DISC and learning about Purpose to Purpose, and you'll be seeing us again. So have a lovely evening, and thank you. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
I've been doing this for hours.
I was over here